Well, halfway into his term, President Biden is facing a slew of new challenges, including that special counsel investigation over his handling of classified documents. But he is also touting some big legislative wins as well. NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli back with us now. Mike, so what has President Biden accomplished in his first 2 years in office here, and what's on the agenda for the next 2 years?
Well, Aaron, the president is speaking right now to a group of bipartisan mayors from across the country. He joked, as he often does, that being a mayor is a much harder job than being president. But it's notable, as he marks the 2-year mark of his time in office, that this is the group he's talking to. Because when you talk to White House officials, they look at the year ahead, they talk more about the implementation of some of his past successes, like the infrastructure law, which he's talking about now, than any new legislation that he might be doing. Obviously, a very uphill climb with the new Republican Congress. And so he's using this moment to highlight not just the infrastructure law, things like the Inflation Reduction Act, some of the components of the American Rescue Plan, that COVID law that was implemented early in his time in office, all with an eye towards spending this year traveling the country, talking about ways in which he believes the American people's lives have improved under his watch, while in Washington there's a lot of investigation which he's going to leave to Republicans, and hope that that contrast serves him well in his political future.
Well, you mentioned the investigations, and I'll note, Mike, that we're looking at live pictures here now from the White House as the president is speaking to that group of mayors. Other than dealing with national issues like high inflation and border issues, the president, as you noted, is still facing this classified documents investigation and questions around whether he's going to run for re-election. Is that investigation impacting his decision-making at this point?
Yeah, Aaron, I mean, the potential legal fallout is one thing, but obviously there's a question about the political fallout and whether this might revise some of those doubts that Democrats had about whether Biden should lead the top of the ticket. A White House official saying rather bluntly that it does not affect their thinking or even the timeline about when President Biden might announce his decision about whether to seek re-election. All indications are that he will. Now, what is notable is that the State of the Union address, which is now scheduled for February 7th, had always been sort of the benchmark. White House officials had talked to me about when an announcement might come. It appears now that there really is no firm timetable that his top advisors have agreed to about when he will make that announcement. For now, it's clear that it's not going to happen until after the State of the Union. There are some other important variables, though, including not just the president's health, the health of the First Lady, Dr. Biden, who, of course, just had surgery to treat a form of skin cancer. The White House saying today that the president will have a full physical and that the results of that physical will be released before that announcement comes by the end of the month.
All right, Mike Memoli for us in Washington today. Mike, thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.